Have you ever had one of those nights where you're just completely captivated by a game? The nights where you lose track of time and all of a sudden it's 2 in the morning and the minutes have turned into hours? Whether it was running around Hyrule and Ocarina of Time, making a new world with your friends on Minecraft, or struggling to pick your first start in Pokemon, we all have similar strong memories that have contributed to our love of video games. I know for me personally, these experiences are some of my most fond and happy, and I'm always on the lookout for more experiences like this. That's why I decided to start this series called Why You Should Play, where I try to convince you to play some of my favorite games. For my first video, I decided to do something that I've played more recently, a game that is as beautiful as it is fun, Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight is a Metroidvania-style game made by Australian game developers Team Cherry, and was released back in 2017. Over the past few years, Hollow Knight has been one of the most critically acclaimed indie games, and there's good reason for its success. It's full of charm, and you can tell by the quality and quantity of Hollow Knight's world that this was a passion project, where the developers really just wanted to make a great game. To properly sing Hollow Knight's praises, I've decided to break this video down into 3 categories: atmosphere, exploration, and combat. First, let's talk about atmosphere. I was first introduced to Hollow Knight during the 2018 Nintendo E3 Direct, and my interest was immediately piqued by the art style and atmosphere, and decided to take a chance on it. Like I said before, this game is chock full of charm. Hollow Knight takes place in the fictional kingdom of Hallownest. The first thing that makes Hallownest unique is that everyone in its world aren't human, but they're bugs. And it's really fun to see how Team Cherry has taken real-life insects and made a video game counterpart. But that's just the tip of the creative iceberg. Every nook and cranny of the map is filled with different enemies, hand-drawn landscapes, and even unique music. Every area has a different feel and vibe to it. Team Cherry has somehow managed to make each area distinctly different, while also keeping the whole map cohesive, and feel like a proper kingdom. Let's take a look at an area of the map called the City of Tears. The City of Tears acts as the capital of Hollow Knight's world. It once the hub of civilization where merchants and citizens filled the streets, but now remains a ghost of its former self. There are many different details that contribute to the atmosphere of this area, like its blue hues, massive infrastructure, constant rain, and even the sound of splashing that occurs every time you jump. Everything feels handpicked and carefully arranged for a great experience. It would also be a disservice to move on without discussing the beautiful arrangement of this area. Team Cherry composer Christopher Larkin has done an incredible job of writing beautiful and fitting pieces of music for each area. To show you how the music contributes to the atmosphere, let's listen to the City of Tears theme for a second. Doesn't this give you a sense of grandeur, beauty, but also loss? Like this place is unlike any other, like it was made to showcase the beauty and nobility of this kingdom, but ultimately has been forgotten? It's not easy presenting atmosphere like this, let alone with the grace and beauty that Team Cherry has achieved with every single area in Hollow Knight. On the flip side, I have played games where areas feel too similar, worlds that feel stagnant, rigid, and honestly boring. That's why what Team Cherry has done with its atmosphere is so impressive and important to its success. However, atmosphere alone does not make a great game. You could have incredible cities, music, and art style, but could still be boring to play. So let's take a look on how Hollow Knight nails exploration. Personally, my favorite types of games are those that actually feel like an adventure. Games that allow me to explore and find things on my own. Games that let me do my own thing and don't hold my hand so much. I found that lots of video game companies like to use the mantra, explore our world, as a selling point in games, but lots of times it just doesn't really make sense. Like Pokemon, for example. Now, I love Pokemon and probably always will, but they're very linear and it doesn't encourage real exploration, in my opinion. Those games are basically just getting your starter, beat the 8 gym leaders, the evil team, the Elite Four, and then becoming the champion. You go from route to city, and so on. Now, this does not necessarily mean that Pokemon games are bad, and there's still plenty of fun to be had, but in my opinion, exploration is best when you can go off the beaten path, when you can go somewhere for no other reason than because I want to. However, if you swing too hard the other way and have a massive open world where you can go anywhere you want, but it doesn't have meaningful achievements or items in that world, it makes exploration feel empty and boring. A game needs a balance between letting the player explore and having meaningful discoveries at the end of those explorations. Now let me tell you how Hollow Knight nails this. Hollow Knight achieves great exploration with what I like to call restricted exploration. Hollow Knight's developers were smart and added a specific roadblock that can be only passed with certain items or abilities, which most of these abilities are hidden behind bosses or exploring deep into an area. You may be asking, isn't that exactly what you criticize Pokemon for? I mean, that sounds an awful lot like HMs. Well, yes and no. See, the roadblocks in Pokemon are you find a tree that you can't cut down because you don't have the HM for cut that allows you to cut it down. Because you haven't done the specific story event that allows you access to cut, because you have to go do that first before you can do anything else. While Hollow Knight is similar in the way that it blocks the player, in the sense when you find a roadblock you can't pass it without an item or ability. The key difference is how you gain the abilities and items, how it grants you access into new areas. See, it isn't linear, and you typically gain these abilities after exploring into a specific area. Team Cherry has designated multiple ways into different areas. Often you come across a roadblock and you can either explore further and try and find another way in, or explore somewhere else and find the item or ability that allows you entry into that specific roadblock. What I love so much about this game is that after the very beginning of the game, you can really get the items and abilities in whatever order you wish. That's why Hollow Knight's restricted exploration works. Because instead of receiving access to an item after a story-specific event for a specific roadblock, you are inclined to explore as deep as you can in order to find another way in, or exploring elsewhere to see if you can find the item or ability that allows you to pass. Here's an example from my own playthrough. I was exploring an area and I came across a rickety path with empty space below. It was obvious to me that I needed to break through the ground, so I tried everything I could think to break it. I jumped on it, hit it with my nail, anything I could think of, until eventually I decided to see if I could find another way in. After playing for a while and completely forgetting about the rickety path, I received an ability that allowed me to attack downwards. I remembered the rickety path and thought, what if I tried it there? And to my delight, it worked. I got access to a brand new area. I adore this method of exploration because it makes me excited to traverse new areas, not get frustrated when I come across a roadblock. It makes no two playthroughs the same. When you get past a roadblock, it doesn't feel like a gimme. It doesn't feel like it worked only because you flipped a switch. It honestly feels earned. It's an achievement because you discovered how to get past it on your own, without the help of an NPC explaining it to you. When you gain the item or ability, it's an exciting moment because you either remember or can now discover which roadblock you can pass through. Also, the lore in this game goes hand in hand with exploration. The lore is given in hints through some required dialogue, but mostly relics scattered throughout Hallownest. The lore in this game is surprisingly really good and makes finding those relics so much more enjoyable. I haven't really experienced this method of storytelling in video games before. I was so used to the automated cutscenes and dialogue that this was very refreshing. There's just enough unskippable story elements to keep you interested, but not too much where it feels forced. It really made me excited to find relics and stories that expanded the lore. Now, great atmosphere and exploration together makes a really good game, but what propels Hollow Knight forward into the masterpiece category for me is the combat. Combat in gaming is a really interesting topic. Some games treat combat like a puzzle, where you execute the exact attack to beat certain enemies, or some is simply button mashing, input the attack over and over until the enemy is dead. And how games treat health is also usually similar. But Hollow Knight isn't like traditional games where you pick up a mushroom or eat food to gain health. In Hollow Knight, you have what's called a soul meter. The main way to fill up your soul meter is by killing enemies and hitting these soul statues. In order to regain health, you must focus or charge your soul to replenish mass, which act as hit points. However, soul isn't just used to regain health. It's used to cast spells as well, which you will gain plenty of. This makes for a fun but challenging dilemma, especially in boss fights. Will you use up your soul meter to regain health, or do you need it to wield more powerful attacks? Another element that makes the combat in Hollow Knight so dynamic are charms. Charms are like badges that you can equip, and each charm is unique and has a different effect. some that make navigation easier, some that make you faster, and some that help you in combat, and so on. Each charm requires a specific amount of charm notches to use, and you will only have a limited amount of charm notches available to you. So at any given time, you may only have a limited combination of charms equipped. This, alongside the soul meter, makes for a deep and compelling combat system. There is no one right set of charms to use in boss fights, and different charms may be better in different boss battles. It all in all makes for a more deep and enjoyable experience. And since we're on the topic, let's talk about the boss battles. I adore the boss battles in Hollow Knight. Some are easier than others, but there are some that are really brutal. But they are designed in a wonderful way that promotes learning. The bosses in this game all have the same few basic attacks. They typically have startup animations so you can anticipate them. As you progress in the fight, certain bosses change or improve on their attacks. This makes them more difficult the first time because you're unaware of what the boss is about to do. However, still makes the fight interesting because it isn't the same the whole time. It's wonderful because if you fail, you don't need in-game buffs, because the knowledge you gain to defeat the boss is the buff. You gain the knowledge, recognize the boss's timings on the attacks, the startup animation, and these things together help you get better against bosses. This is similar to the exploration in the sense that defeating bosses feel earned. You didn't just destroy them with your overpowered weapon and hitting the same button over and over. You outsmarted and outmaneuvered them. You found their pattern and exploited it. However, if you find a boss to be too difficult, most of the time you can leave and just come back later when you feel stronger and more equipped to take them on. And how Hollow Knight excels at these three things that I've talked about, atmosphere, exploration, and combat, is what makes it such a great game. This was the game that I got completely lost in. This was a game that caused me to stay up way later than I should have. I love Hollow Knight, and I hope that you will too. And that is why you should play Hollow Knight. If you found this video and you clicked on it and you stuck around for the whole thing, I can't thank you enough. This is the first video that I put together and edited myself, so I appreciate any support. If you want to see more from me, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you have any feedback or advice, things that you liked, disliked, please let me know. I'm always looking for ways to improve my content. Anyways, thanks for watching my video, and I hope you have a good one.